Module objective. This module provides an in-depth study of jazz and blues, two foundational genres of modern music that originated from African American communities. You will explore their historical emergence, musical structures, emotional depth, innovative techniques, and global cultural influence. The module critically assesses how these genres shaped other music forms, mirrored societal changes, and became artistic symbols of identity, resistance, and freedom. 1. Historical roots and social context. African origins in the American South. Both blues and jazz trace their roots to African musical traditions, particularly call-and-response vocal patterns, polyrhythmic drumming, use of pentatonic and blues scales, oral storytelling through music. These were brought to the Americas through the transatlantic slave trade and evolved in the crucible of oppression, segregation, and resistance. Blues origins, late 19th century, emerged in the Mississippi Delta, spreading through the Deep South, developed from field hollers, work songs, spirituals, and African American folk music, reflected pain, resilience, humor, love, and personal struggle. Jazz origins, early 20th century, born in New Orleans, a melting pot of African, French, Spanish, and Caribbean influences, evolved from ragtime, blues, marching bands, and gospel, associated with urban sophistication, nightlife, and creative rebellion. E2, musical structures and techniques. Blues characteristics, 12-bar blues form, most common structure, IV-V chord progression, blues scale, flattened third, fifth, and seventh tones, e.g. C-Eb, F, G, B, G, B, B. Lyrics often follow AAB poetic form. Themes: sorrow, resilience, love, migration, betrayal, spirituality. Key figures: Robert Johnson, Delta blues pioneer. Bessie Smith, Empress of the Blues. Muddy Waters, electrified Chicago blues sound. Howlin' Wolf, Blind Lemon Jefferson, lead belly jazz characteristics. Improvisation, core element, spontaneous creation over harmonic structures, complex harmony, use of extended chords, modulations, chromaticism, swing rhythm, uneven triplet feel that creates forward motion instrumentation, trumpet, saxophone, piano, bass, drums, guitar, clarinet key. Jazz styles, New Orleans, Dixieland, 1900s, 1920s, collective improvisation, swing big band, 1930s, 1940s, danceable, orchestrated bebop, 1940s, fast, complex, virtuosic solos, cool jazz, 1950s, smooth, understated, West Coast sound hard bop, 1950s, 60s, blues and gospel-infused jazz, free jazz, 1960s, atonality, experimentation, absence of fixed form, fusion, 1970s, jazz plus rock plus funk plus electronic elements, key innovators, Louis Armstrong, scat singing, virtuosity Duke, Ellington, orchestration genius, swing Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie, bebop pioneers, Miles Davis, innovated multiple styles, cool, modal, fusion, John Coltrane, spiritual improvisation, avant-garde, Thelonious Monk, Bill Evans, Herbie Hancock, Ornette Coleman. 3. Improvisation, the heart of jazz. Improvisation is the defining characteristic of jazz comparable to a musical conversation. Improvisational features, soloing over chord changes, motivic development, transforming short ideas, rhythmic variation, altering time feel, or syncopation. Modal improvisation, soloing based on scales, modes, rather than chord changes. Interaction, spontaneous exchange among band members. Improvisation is a reflection of individuality, creativity, and personal voice akin to a poet composing live. 4. Cultural significance and identity. Jazz and blues served as tools for social commentary, survival, and cultural pride, particularly among African Americans during times of racial segregation, Jim Crow laws, civil rights struggles, war, and political unrest. These genres also inspired literature, visual art, and theater, creating a broader cultural movement like the Harlem Renaissance. Impact on identity. Blues, rooted in the everyday Black experience. Jazz, represented intellectualism, freedom, and high art. Challenged stereotypes and colonial narratives of Black inferiority. 5. Global influence and evolution. Jazz and blues have influenced nearly every major modern genre. Rock, R&B, soul, funk, pop, hip-hop, EDM, even classical. Global spread: France, Django Reinhardt, jazz cafes, gypsy jazz Japan, avant-garde jazz scene, jazz clubs in Tokyo, Africa, highlife Afrobeat and Ethio jazz, Mulatu Astatke, Cuba, Brazil, Latin jazz, bossa nova, samba jazz, Scandinavia. ECM label fostered Nordic jazz aesthetics, space, silence, mood. Jazz festivals now exist worldwide: Montreux, North Sea, Cape Town, Tokyo, and Newport. 6. Innovation, education, and preservation. In academia, jazz has transitioned from low art to academic legitimacy. Major institutions offer jazz studies: Berklee College of Music, Juilliard, New School, Manhattan School of Music. Jazz is now preserved in the Smithsonian, Jazz at Lincoln Center, and global archives. Challenges: decline in mainstream popularity, gentrification of jazz venues, tensions between purists versus innovators, need to honor its Black roots while embracing global evolution. 7. Jazz and blues as vehicles for protest. These genres have long been outlets for political and social dissent, particularly Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit, a chilling protest against lynching. Max Roach's We Insist, Freedom Now Sweet, civil rights jazz, Charles Mingus's Fables of Faubus, satire of segregationist governor modern artists like Kamasi Washington, Esperanza Spalding, and Robert Glasper use jazz to address systemic injustice and reframe Black identity. Key takeaways: blues and jazz are foundational to American and global music history. Jazz is characterized by improvisation, complex harmony, and artistic individuality. Blues expresses emotional truth through lyrical and musical simplicity. Both genres emerged from African American oppression and innovation. Jazz and blues continue to evolve, educate, and inspire across generations and continents,